The factory always felt wrong after dark. October darkened early at the old Milligan toy factory. By 5, the sun was gone, and a cold wind scraped dry leaves against the asphalt. I'm Martha Jensen, the factory's marketing coordinator, which also meant I was the reluctant planner for our annual Halloween party. As I lingered at my computer, nervously checking event lists, the orange and purple string lights outside my window blinked weakly against the gathering gloom. I've never liked being alone in this place. It's an absurdly cavernous relic from the 1950s, its halls filled with shadows and the ghostly whir of ancient fans. Tonight, that quiet, irrational dread was crawling up my bones. Most of my co-workers were already downstairs, turning the break room into a Halloween spectacle with fake spider webs and mountains of candy. I glanced at my phone. 6:11 p.m. Time to go. The last of the production team had already left, their laughter echoing down the warehouse corridor before fading away. I grabbed my coat and stepped into the hallway. It was almost pitch black, save for the faint glow of an emergency exit sign far down the corridor. I forced myself to walk steadily, trying to ignore the odd drafts and creaking floorboards. Just an old building settling, I told myself. As I neared the stairs, I heard something. A faint, persistent tapping. I froze. I was about to call out, thinking it might be the cleaning crew, but then it stopped. A long, low moan replaced it, and the hairs on my neck stood straight up. I didn't walk, I ran. I scrambled down the stairs, heart hammering, nearly falling into the brightly lit break room where music and laughter spilled out. The party was in full swing. Dan from shipping had a stick-on mustache, Angela from HR wore a plastic halo, and even George, the new temp, was wrapped in toilet paper like a mummy. Being around people helped. For a while, I almost forgot my anxiety as I managed the costume contest and handed out pumpkin-shaped cookies. Then someone pressed a flyer into my hands. Haunted Factory Tour, 8 p.m. Be brave, see the lost toy maker. I tried to laugh it off, but my smile felt fake. This tour was an annual tradition. A few of the bravest or drunkest staff would lead a group through the factory's oldest wing telling ghost stories. They always talked about the founder's mysterious death and, of course, the ghost toy maker. I'd even used that story for some free PR a few years back. But this year, the old fear felt sharper, more real. At 5 to 8, the lights went out, and someone handed me a flashlight. Before I knew it, I was being dragged to the front of a small group. Dan and Angela were giggling behind me, everyone huddled close. The warehouse magnified every footstep, every whisper. George, now hiding behind some boxes, started the tour in a spooky voice. Welcome, mortals. Tonight, you journey to the heart of Milligan's greatest mystery. The toy maker who was cast out, but returned from beyond the veil to finish his masterpiece. He warned us not to answer any knocking. A few people laughed, but I noticed they all pressed a little closer. Just then, a cold draft swept down the hall, making my flashlight flicker. The group fell silent. From somewhere ahead, a soft, persistent knock. 3 deliberate raps. That you, George? Dan snorted. Save it for the finale. But George looked genuinely confused. Wasn't me, he mumbled. The knocking started again, louder this time. 3, then 4 sharp raps echoing off the conveyor belts. Angela squeezed my arm. Who else is supposed to be down here? She whispered. Security, maybe? I said, trying to sound calm, but I knew that was a lie. The sound was too measured, too human. And it was coming from the old office at the end of the hall, a room that had been locked for over a decade. I looked at the pale faces around me. Let's check it out, I said, forcing authority into my voice. Whoever it is, let's send them home. We walked slowly, a nervous huddle in the dark. My flashlight beam trembled in my hand. The door ahead was heavy, its frosted glass bearing a faded sign. Production manager Reed, Andrew Reed, the gifted toy designer who'd gone bankrupt and, according to legend, vanished one stormy night. As we approached, the knocking stopped. I reached for the doorknob. It was icy cold. I twisted the handle and to my shock the door opened with a faint rasp. The room was stuffy, filled with old blueprints and half-dismantled prototypes. A thick layer of dust coated everything, except for a single wooden rocking horse in the corner. Its lacquer gleamed, and it rocked gently, as if someone had just stepped away. Angela gasped. "Did you see that? It moved?" Dan pushed past me. "Must have been a draft." But the air was completely still. As we stepped further into the room, the door swung shut behind us with a soft, definitive thud. I grabbed the handle. It was stuck, locked. Angela tried her phone's flashlight, but the battery was dead. 2 others tried same result. "Okay, enough," George said, his voice shaking. "Congrats, I'm officially freaked out." No one laughed. The room felt suddenly colder. Then, the knocking resumed not from the door, but from the window. We all turned. Pressed against the frosted glass was the shape of a handprint, slender and almost skeletal. Behind it, a pale face hovered in the darkness, its mouth forming silent words in the condensation on the glass. Asterisk, "Help me please." Asterisk, my rational mind buckled. I felt a strange urge to help, a wave of empathy for this grieving, longing figure. Dan was swearing, yanking at the locked door, but the rest of us were frozen. As the ghostly presence faded, the rocking horse began to rock faster and faster, its creaking rising to a desperate whine. At its peak, my flashlight sputtered, briefly illuminating a figure in the far corner, a man in faded work coveralls and a factory badge. Andrew Reed. His colorless, searching eyes met mine. I heard the plea again, not with my ears, but in my mind. Asterisk, help me please. Asterisk, my hand, moving on its own, reached for a stack of dusty files on the old desk. The top sheet was Reed's last blueprint. Scrawled in the margins was a frantic message. "Not done. Please finish." For Susie. Susie. I remembered the story Reed's daughter. Just then, the corridor lights flickered on. The air warmed, the rocking horse fell still, and the door clicked open. The ghost dissolved. The others scrambled out, but I lingered, clutching the blueprint. Back in the break room, they jabbered nervously, some trying to explain it away. I said nothing. A few days later, I tracked down Susie Reed. I gave her the blueprint and a small, hand-carved doll I found with it her father's last work. We had coffee, and she told me stories about him. That Halloween, the old office was finally quiet. The rocking horse was moved to the foyer, and the knocking never came again. Sometimes, late in October, I swear I see a gentle figure standing by the window, at peace. I never lost my unease after dark, but I also never again heard the ghost's plea, only the faint echo of gratitude in the autumn wind. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you next time.